R clip in this short series of live Narcissist R clips, if you will. Getting around the resistance of the phone overheating as best we can. All right, y'all. So, narcissist, okay? And number one, we talked about how narcissists are wicked witches. Number two, we talk about how narcissists are deceivers. Number three, we talk about how narcissists are reprobates. Number four, we talk about how narcissists are hypocrites. Now, in this number five, final five, if you will, we're going to talk about how narcissists are bad influences. Oh my gosh, this is why many of us, listen y'all, many of us, we didn't realize it at the time, but we always found ourselves doing things that we would not normally want to do or even think of doing. But the narcissist putting pressure on us, right? Using gaslighting, using guilt tripping. Before we realized that's what it was, trying to make us feel bad if we didn't go along with them to do this or that. But like, yeah, but we're not really sure. They're like, oh, come on, it's going to be fun. And you get there and you're like, okay, it's a little bit fun. But then you have regrets later on because we knew it wasn't right and we shouldn't have done that. And then also, not to mention how a lot of narcissists will get you in trouble. Narcissists love to get other people in trouble, especially with the law. Oh my gosh, narcissists love to get people in trouble with the law. Oh man, you have no idea. But think about that, okay? That a lot of us, I know yours truly, there was a season where I engaged in some behaviors that I know the real me underneath all of that. Even at that time, I was like, man, what made me do that? I was like, I would not engage in something. That was not what I would consider normal for me at that time in my life. I even knew, I said, what came over me? Well, I will tell you now, after learning in one of my social psychology classes, yes, for those who don't know, yours truly has a bachelor's in criminal justice, a master's in forensic toxicology, and we are in the process of our dissertation on this journey still, okay, you all? So, yeah, we're not done yet. But in this current journey, I had to take a social psychology course, and I learned about the social influence, and it all makes sense. I got to think, I said, now this would be why, the narcissists were so easy, okay? It was easy for them to convince us to go along with whatever it was, and then we got in trouble, or even if we didn't get in trouble, we didn't feel right about it even after the fact. It's because the social influence, their social influence, and not to mention the witchcraft, right? That lure that they had, they talk, their talk is smooth as butter. And so it's like, oh my gosh, how did we fall for that? How did we get ourselves into that? And then you got to remember, how do we get out of that? God, glory be to God. And remember, because narcissists, they will always, okay, and I mean always, be bad influences. I don't remember exactly where it is, but God does tell us, he tells us not to be partakers with them. Once we identify that they are an evildoer and that they are a narcissist, then we want to make sure that we don't partake with them, okay? We don't hang around them, because lest we become like them. That's how strong that social influence can be. And we found out later on, many of us did, as we're recognizing the moot in our own eyes and going through the self-reflection, and then remembering that, oh, okay, well, we are not to engage in that kind of behavior. And so we learn, okay, that they are bad influences. And now that we know narcissists are bad influences, because social influence can be very strong if we're not careful, we are the company that we keep. We can become like them. A lot of us we have to unlearn a lot of narcissistic traits, if you will. Okay, a lot of narcissistic habits that we picked up before we knew any better. We have to unlearn those. That's part of the self-reflection. That's part of repentance. And now that we know that, oh my gosh, why did we end up doing this? Why were we thinking this way? It's because we were being influenced badly by the narcissist, okay? We picked up their bad narcissistic habits. All right, because it was their social influence. All right, they are bad influences. So God tells us stay away from them, because if we don't, eventually over time, because of that witchcraft, it can wear off on us if we're not aware of it, and lest we become like them. Because remember, one of the biggest goals of these narcissists is to turn us into one of them. All right, y'all, that wraps up these short narcissist art clips. I know many of y'all, again, when you catch it on the replay, in the comment, I would like to see replay. All right, that way I know who you are, and I know who you are, but I want to see how many of y'all do that. Catch this on the replay and put replay in the comments. All right, I will see you there. Sending love and light always.